Hey guys, it's Amanda and welcome back to my floor. So today I'm going to be talking about the little white logo that flashes on screen before some of the most notable, low-budget, aesthetically pleasing feature films in the last decade. 3 characters, 2 letters, 1 number, named after an Italian highway. Yes, I'm talking about A24. So if you don't know what A24 is, you're either over the age of 40 or don't have any film major friends, and for good reason. But today I'm going to be talking about how in an industry whose bread and butter is sensationalism, explosions, reboots, prequels, sequels, reboots of reboots, A24 rose above it all and created a name for itself by focusing on authentic storytelling. So if we want to know how A24 got to the point of being able to sell socks, water bottles, and umbrellas as a movie studio, we have to go back to its origins. Like most companies, A24 was founded by some white dudes. Daniel Katz, David Finkel, and John Hodges came together in 2012 to create what started as a film distribution company. And I do want to say that these weren't just some kids making a startup out of their college dorm. These were industry professionals who were previously working in the entertainment and finance industries before founding A24. In fact, Daniel Katz formerly led the film finance group at Guggenheim Partners, which according to Wikipedia is a global investments and advisory financial services firm. Basically, it's one of those companies that makes money by making money for other people. So yeah, Guggenheim Partners provided the seed money for A24. The founder's mission statements of sorts was movies from a distinctive point of view. And I know this is a sort of big statement, so I'm gonna kind of expand upon it a little bit more later in the video when I discuss what sets A24 films apart from everyone else. So back to the rise of A24. As I said, A24 started as a distribution company. But what does that mean, and why does their logo appear in front of every movie my film major friend recommends to me? Good question. So in the film industry, a distribution company is the company that's responsible for marketing a film and getting it to certain screens, whether it's in a theater or through your laptop on Netflix. A24 is an independent distributor, meaning that it handles films made out of major studios like Fox or Disney, for example. Many A24 movies have small budgets compared to bigger studio-made films. They're usually made independently and premiere at prestigious film festivals like Cannes, Toronto, Sundance, South by Southwest, and A24 will go to those film festivals and see the movies and buy the ones that they like and that they think they can do a good job at selling. So the first movie that really put A24 on the map was Spring Breakers, which was released in 2013, and it was starring some notable former Disney stars like Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens, as well as James Franco. Anyway, Spring Breakers was a huge success, at least in terms of indie films. It made $31 million in the box office and only cost $5 million to produce. Only, yeah, I don't know, films are expensive to make. A large part of its theatrical success had to do with the buzz A24 created around the movie through a strategic yet effortlessly cool social media marketing campaign that featured this sexy, intriguing, and somewhat offensive parody of Da Vinci's The Last Supper starring the cast of Spring Breakers. The image ended up getting 19,000 likes on Facebook, which drove to ticket sales because they had it linked in the caption. After the success of Spring Breakers, A24 went on to distribute some even more unique and auteur-driven films, a few of which went on to achieve box office success and critical acclaim at the Oscars. In 2015, there was Ex Machina, a heady psychological thriller about an AI robot written and directed by Alex Garland. It won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, got a nomination for Best Original Screenplay, and grossed $36 million worldwide. Later that year came Amy, a heart-wrenching documentary about the life and death of Amy Winehouse, which won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 2016. Room was no exception, receiving critical acclaim, box office success, and 4 Academy Award nominations, as well as a win for Brie Larson as Best Actress. Then came Moonlight, a coming-of-age drama written and directed by Barry Jenkins. Moonlight made headlines and broke records at the Academy Awards. It was the first film with an all-black cast and director to win the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won.
Moonlight's success farther solidified A24's role as a small but mighty player in the world of independent cinema and beyond. Moonlight also happens to be the first film that A24 produced as well as distributed. So I already explained that A24 started as a distribution company, but now they also act as a film and television production company. So what does a production company actually do? Good question. Basically, they're responsible for making the product, whether it's a film or TV show, come into fruition. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. It can mean finding a script, attaching a director to a script, attaching investable talent to a script, and of course, raising money so the movie can actually be made. In the independent cinema world, it's common to have multiple production companies attached to a product so the work can be split up more, and also so the risk can be split up, because of course it's not guaranteed that a movie will make its money back or even make a profit at all. I do want to say that A24 is definitely not immune to blunders. They've had movies that made like $5,000 or like $8,000 in the box office, so not everything they touch is necessarily gold. Still, they're pretty damn good at distributing and producing movies with relatively minuscule budgets that have become profitable because of their unique stories and because of A24's marketing and distribution finesse. One of the best examples of this is Ladybird, a coming-of-age dramedy about an idiosyncratic 17-year-old in her final year of high school. Ladybird was produced for a mere $10 million and made $79 million in the box office. I think this movie was the catalyst for growth of A24's late teens and 20-somethings dedicated fan base. It's also worth noting that Timothée Chalamet, resident white boy of the month, was a part of Ladybird's ensemble just after he gained widespread critical acclaim and internet popularity for his breakthrough role in Call Me By Your Name. A24 has kind of managed to replicate Ladybird's success at a smaller scale with coming-of-age movies like 8th Grade and Mid-90s. I know a lot of different people probably have seen those films, but I feel like they definitely brought in younger people just due to the coming-of-age nature of it. But of course, A24 has found major success with films on the opposite end of the genre and audience spectrum, with Ari Aster's Hereditary and Midsommar, as well as psychological thrillers like The Lighthouse and Uncut Gems. So I've talked about what A24 is and where they've come from, but let's discuss what sets them apart in the entertainment industry. First and foremost, content. A24 doesn't limit itself to one genre like some production and distribution companies do, but the common thread throughout their very diverse catalog of work is that the movies they choose are extremely creator-driven, meaning that they're not movies that seem like they're targeting a huge audience or demographic. They're movies that were made because they had to be made. The creator usually has a distinct attachment to the story that is driven by passion and not profit. I know this sounds super romantic and quixotic, but I think it's true, especially in the world of independent cinema. If the creator has this kind of virtuous intent when actually making the film, I think A24 execs are able to see the universality within the specificity of a story, which I think is essentially the crux of authenticity. Anyone can recognize it, but it can only be manufactured from real personal experience. If you ask Sean Baker, Greta Gerwig, or Barry Jenkins, why did it have to be you to tell this specific story? I think they'd have a pretty good answer. Okay, so the next thing that sets A24 apart isn't as artsy, but their business model. As you can tell by now, A24 doesn't really do a lot of wide theatrical releases. I remember in high school driving to a movie theater that was 40 minutes away to see 8th grade. But it was worth it. A24 recognizes that most people aren't trying to casually watch two lighthouse keepers try to maintain their sanity while living on a remote and mysterious New England island in the 1890s. So they strategically and uniquely distribute their films to screens where they know the audience is eager to watch. In addition to this, A24 has made strategic deals when it comes to finding a home for their films after theatrical releases. In 2013, A24 partnered with Amazon on an exclusive multi-year streaming deal. Most recently, A24 partnered with Showtime so that A24 produced theatrically released films through November 1st, 2022 will air on Showtime's broadcast channels and streaming services. A24 has also inked production and distribution deals with Apple TV Plus and HBO. Wherever you can mitigate your costs upfront, that's good, says one veteran distribution executive of A24's array of agreements. Showtime, HBO, or any places that are willing to pay top dollar for content, that's the game. As indicated by A24's partitioning of its catalog, partners are buying into a brand. Their logo means something when attached to a film or a project, says exhibitor relations analyst Jeff Bach. That's just as important as IP in this day and age, maybe even more so. So that's definitely a pretty powerful statement to say. If you don't know, IP in the entertainment world means intellectual property, meaning anything that's already been trademarked or copyrighted, like Mickey Mouse or Spider-Man or the Fast and Furious franchise. There's so many of those movies. As you can probably tell from seeing the kind of movies that are released every year, a lot of them come from IP because studios like to use this kind of material because it already has a precedent, it already worked, so there's probably a good chance that it will work again. So basically this guy is saying that, you know, A24 is just as powerful as like some pre-existing super successful franchise, like their logo has that much weight, which is really interesting, and I think it's a pretty cool turning point in the entertainment industry because I feel like it gets pretty boring just seeing the same reboots and prequels and sequels over and over again, even though, you know, they are successful and they make money. As a viewer though, I think it's really awesome that we're gonna see a lot more unique and cool things. They might have, depending on the brand, maybe a similar veneer on them because, you know, a brand is a brand, you can't just totally stray away from it. But I think it's going to be a really cool opportunity for young creators and people who just want to see something else besides like the same franchises that keep on being remade. And this is going to bring me to my third point. The all-encompassing thing that sets A24 apart is their brand. Under brand, I'm including social media presence, unique marketing strategies, and the connotation that comes with the A24 logo. So first, social media. A24 is one of those companies with a personified Twitter account. Not in like the absurd Wendy's fast food Twitter way, but their tweets definitely aren't straight edge. They have personality, they're fun, they're engaging. They retweet memes about their movies, they kind of poke fun at themselves on Twitter, and they even know how to use that cursive font, so clearly they're social media savvy. I don't even know how to use that. How do you do that? The account boasts 1.5 million followers, and it doesn't seem like it exists solely to promote their product. It's really an extension of their brand identity, which I would describe as effortlessly cool. Also, I think it's simultaneously uncanny and fitting that the latest film they announced, Zola, is actually based off of a viral Twitter thread, and it already has a ton of buzz. The next aspect of their brand is their innovative marketing strategy. I already mentioned the Spring Breakers one before, but A24 spends most of their marketing budget on digital, which makes sense because, you know, they're a very social media savvy company. But another example of a viral marketing campaign they had actually occurred in 2015 when they were promoting Ex Machina at the South by Southwest Film Festival. So A24 created a fake Tinder account for one of the lead characters in the movie, who is Ava. She happens to be a very alluring AI robot, so they literally created an AI like robot Tinder account for her where she would actually message people and respond to them, which is kind of crazy. So that campaign went viral and it even earned a Shorty Award, and of course Ex Machina was quite successful in the box office. And the next aspect of A24's brand is the connotation that comes with it. I feel like on social media I actually see people use A24 as like more of a descriptor than as like a proper noun. People will literally make Spotify playlists that are like A24 vibes, or if I made an A24 movie. Yes, I am one of those people. I am people. I am bitches. So I'll link it below if you want to listen though. Or another thing I've noticed is that people will make TikToks that are like A24 vibes, and it's just like a group of white kids like bopping around a city or frolicking on a field during golden hour, because that's an A24 movie, I guess. So I think the most prevalent connotation that comes with A24, at least from what I've seen on like social media, is coming of age and aesthetically pleasing, which is interesting because, you know, that's not the only movies that A24 makes. Like, they have some pretty dark and scary movies too. But it definitely seems like their most popular coming of age movies is what really seems to define them in mainstream culture, or at least internet culture. And as I said before, I really think Ladybird was the catalyst for this. It's really interesting how strong the A24 brand is, in that some people kind of refer to A24 itself as a genre of film, when really it started out as a distribution company. So they were just buying films that were already made, and they marketed them pretty nicely and brought them to a certain audience. This simply named alphanumeric company holds a lot of weight amongst young people on social media and the most seasoned executives and creators in the film and TV world. I think the craziest thing though is that A24 has managed to build up such a strong brand in just 8 years. I'm interested to see if A24 will be able to sustain this success for decades to come, or if they'll burn super bright now and crash very hard in the near future. Obviously, I don't really see any signs of them stopping. They seem to be pretty unproblematic for the most part. I have seen people on Twitter complain that A24 doesn't put as much marketing behind POC-centric movies such as The Last Black Man in San Francisco, something worth noting. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that A24 is also in the TV business. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that with some of the shows that they've produced, because their iconic logo doesn't appear on the screen in front of them. Some of their more popular shows include Euphoria, which I find a lot of people associate with HBO because it is the network that it streams on. Also, I don't know, HBO might also co-produce it. I'm not 100% sure. Then there's also John Mulaney in the Sack Lunch Bunch on Netflix, and my personal favorite, Rami, on Hulu. I think sometimes when people aren't that familiar with the entertainment world, they might think that A24 is the only A24. And it is, but it definitely has some peer companies. There are other indie distribution plus production hybrid companies that make films that are sort of in the same family as A24 films. Like, they're not in the nuclear family, but they definitely be at the family reunion. For example, Neon was only founded in 2017, and it's best known for Oscar contenders like I, Tonya, Three Identical Strangers, and it brought the one and only Parasite to screens in the United States. Another peer company is Annapurna Pictures, known for Booksmart, Sorry to Bother You, and Her. So back to A24. Clearly this company is doing something right, or a lot of things right, because this kind of hype surrounding an indie movie studio is kind of unprecedented. I definitely think there's a lot of young people out there who think, you know what, one day when I work with A24, I'll know I've made it, including myself. It's like the Disney of the indie world. So if Disney was wearing Doc Martens, it seems as if the A24 logo has become less of a marker for their brand and more of a stamp of approval. It makes you feel like this movie must have been properly vetted and that you're in good hands. Of course, I have to amend that statement with the fact that I haven't seen all of A24's movies, or even most of them, just the most talked about ones. Anyway, A24, you don't need me to tell you this, but keep on doing what you're doing because it's working. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had a really fun time talking about this. I hope that you guys learned some more stuff from it, and let me know what you think about A24 or whatever opinions you have about the indie cinema world below. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!